Hi, my name is Amber Myers, and I'm going to share a little bit about myself in this Module 1. Alright, an introduction here. So, this is a picture of me, my husband Billy, and our son Derek. He's 2.5 years old. Me and my husband met at Millersville in our undergrad career. We both graduated in 2015. Right now I'm currently in the master's program in assessment, curriculum, and teaching with a focus in STEM. I'm almost done. I have 2 more classes to take after this, which is really exciting. I'm an elementary teacher in the Tulpehocken Area School District. I'm going to be starting in 2nd grade tomorrow teaching. I kind of been bounced around a little bit. Being a newer teacher in the district, I started as the building sub, then got hired as the kindergarten teacher, and then I just did 2 years in 4th grade, and now I'm back down to the younger grades. Very excited. Some hobbies I include are photography. I love taking photos for family and friends. This summer I was busy. A lot of our friends were having some babies, so I had maternity and newborn sessions I was taking, and I'm excited for some fall mini sessions. I love going for walks, playing board games, traveling, and being out in my flower gardens. Some places we traveled this summer are we went to the Outer Banks in June, and then July we did a Disney cruise with my whole family for my dad's 70th birthday, which was a lot of fun. And we actually just booked a trip for me and my husband. Will be celebrating our 5th anniversary. So we're going to go to Barbados next spring to celebrate. Prior experiences. I do not have a lot of experience with online teaching. I think my first online class that I ever had in that sort of platform was when I was at Millersville in my undergrad career. I think I only had 1 or 2 online classes while I was there, and I lived on campus, and it was just really hard for me to be motivated myself to log in and to do my online work like that. I was just so used to going, to my classes in person that was just very different for me to get used to and adjusted to. A quote that stood out to me was that, in addition to convenience, flexibility, and other strengths of the online format, the course content and the learning environment itself can be tailored to meet student-specific needs. That is great to hear because, we want to tailor to our kids' needs, and I like that we are able to do that as well as online and in person. And then I feel like I've gained a little bit more experience and practice with online teaching with taking this grad program because it is strictly all online. So I feel like I'm growing as a teacher in that sense of just the online way of learning. My experiences as an online teacher in 2020 when all the schools shut down that middle of March, I was at home actually on maternity leave. So when I was supposed to go back the end of April with my kindergartners, we were all online still. So we were using a platform called ClassKick where we would push some assignments out to kids. I would do some recordings of myself reading read-alouds. There wasn't a whole bunch of Zoom at that point. It was all fresh and brand new to all of us, so it was very different. So then rolls around 2020 to 2021. I was in 4th grade, and the kids were all in person. We had 1 day off during the week, though, on Wednesdays, where it was like our at-home virtual day. I did not have to be on Zoom or anything like that live, but I had to push out assignments for kids to do at home. It was a day where the schools were going to do a deep cleaning. Teachers were going to get together the whole day to plan and prep things. So that was a little bit taste of that. When kids were going quarantining and staying home and such, we were doing, they got to Zoom in. So I was on Zoom, my back would be to them a lot because I was teaching to the rest of the class. So I had to adjust some things like that. And then this past school year, we only offered Zoom when kids were quarantining for such a long period of time. But then when it went back to they could come back after 5 days or so with a mask, we didn't offer as much live virtual options. So I'm curious what this year will hold. Everyone's going to be back in person full time, and we'll see how everything goes. So here's a little self-audit I did on myself for online teaching skills. Some skills that I feel like I already have developed over the past few years is just dedication, motivation, staying organized, and flexibility and patience. I kind of started motivation because I feel that with online teaching and even in the student role, it can be tricky or hard to be motivated when you're not face-to-face, when you're not on live calls with your teacher, you're just kind of on your own set path of assignments at your own time frame. It's a little bit more challenging for me, and I'm sure for students. Organization, I feel, is something I have developed. I've always been a very organized person ever since I was younger. I love labeling everything, knowing everything has its own home. Flexibility, I like to go with the flow when I'm at school. I know that things are going to pop up all the time. Schedules are going to get changed, delays, dismissals. I'm not as flexible at home, but I'm much more flexible in the classroom. Patience, that's just something I've been blessed with. I'm a very patient person, and a quote that kind of stuck out to me was, "It is very easy to become frustrated as a teacher." And it definitely is. There's so many things that come up in our day, even recently with all the more demands we've had, changes, protocols, but we just need to remember, where our heart is at, and that we are there for the kids, and we just need to be patient with them as we're all going through these challenges together. Needs more development. So areas that I want to grow in is definitely my technology skills. I'm not a tech savvy person, but I feel like I have grown in the past few years, getting a little more comfortable. Something that stood out to me that really kind of gave me a sense of relief is that I don't necessarily need to be an expert in technology, because I can still be successful if I'm continuing to grow and challenging myself in those skills. Establishing clear expectations and support. I feel like I do a really good job at that at school with setting up my clear expectations, but when we were virtual, I quickly realized I needed to also have, set rules in place for when we're at home. When we were at home in our bedrooms and, you have all your stuffed animals around you and you're distracted by all the shiny things in your room, we needed to have clear expectations of what I was expecting, how I wanted them to participate, how I wanted them to follow along with us. And along with that came the support side. Like, I had paras and aides that were popping in on my Zoom, and I wanted to know how to utilize them as well as I do, when they're face-to-face with me in the classroom. Kids can be pulled to small groups, one-on-one, etc. But it was a little challenging and tricky for me to learn how to really utilize that support on the online platform. Effective online teachers work to facilitate a strong sense of community, providing resources related to success with the technological infrastructure, and provide the feedback and support they need in their journey. And that goes along within the classroom as well. To be an effective teacher, you need to really build that strong community. National standards face-to-face versus online. I noticed a lot of similarities when I was comparing them. So I'm curious to see what others found as similarity and differences. But to be an online teacher versus a teacher, in a brick and mortar school, you still have to have the professional responsibilities and professionalism. I kind of started that one as being a little challenging or tricky because when I was at home on Zoom, when we had some snow days this past year, they wanted us to be online and offer that online, Zoom if students had issues or problems to be available for them. And I just found that a little tricky because the schedule is so different at home. I'm at home with all my things that are distracting. My phone ringing, someone knocking on my door. There's so many distractions here. I mean, I know they're at school too, but I just feel more comfortable and in the zone when I'm in my classroom. At home, I'm not as much focused, I feel like. So that was a little bit tricky for me. The community building, though, I felt like that was a very strong similarity. Online teaching the online teacher is able to meet the learning needs of all learners, regardless of their backgrounds. The learner engagement, you need to be engaged in both settings. But I also found that for myself to be challenging to really engage all of my students all the time when we were virtual, to get everyone participating, to get everyone following along and not distracted or, turning off their Zoom screen or just going to the bathroom whenever they felt like it because they were at home. It was harder for me to get them really engaged in hands-on, activities. Diverse instruction and assessment and measurement were both important things you need in both settings. But again, I felt that those two are very challenging for the online platform, at least for me in the beginning parts of my Zoom experience, to really differentiate assignments and how I was going to work with certain groups at different times, the assessment and the fidelity in that. I didn't know how much help they could receive from their family, how they were being graded, and, are we taking that grade for all it's worth? How that was really tricky for me. The instructional design, you need to still design and carry out how your lessons are going to go. Two big differences I just said were the digital aspects, teaching them different rules and etiquette being on the online platform, whereas different apps and such we use in the classroom. Some challenges were definitely for me the student issues and the student side of it. Professional development is needed in order to assist teachers with the unique challenges of developing their skills related to meeting the needs of students, especially those with students who had disabilities or learning risk. At-risk students, that was hard for me. In the beginning, some students were not even logging on, doing any of the assignments, but yet they weren't really held accountable by our school protocols and rules. I could only hold them for so much if my, the rules in the school were not as stricter in following of what we were supposed to do. So that was challenging for me to find that balance of, what was expected for them as well as for me. Some students I felt like weren't being serviced fully as they should be, students who had IEPs, who were at risk, right on that borderline of receiving services. And that was just so hard, heartbreaking for me. I'd rather just see them in person and help them as much as I can and get involved in that way. And then I already mentioned about students not completing work and participating. That was definitely a challenge for me that I needed to continue to learn and grow with. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm excited to learn more about you and your experiences.